On episode 25 of the Holochronicles Podcast, Josh and Andy interview Matt Norris from popvinyls.com, have an Easter egg, and Death Star babies? The force is strong with this podcast. Pass on what you're about to learn. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Holochronicles Podcast. I am Andy.
What's going on? I'm Josh.
We have an excellent guest lined up for you tonight. As you may recently call from the last podcast on episode 24, we all found out through a confession that I have fallen through the funk hole.
You have.
And I've fallen pretty hard. It's like there's a gif of Alice tumbling through the rabbit hole.
Yeah, I think you sent that to me. It was appropriate.
And I definitely feel like that is what has happened. However, I'm learning to embrace it. And we have a guest lined up for just a little, in a few minutes here later on in this podcast, Matt Norris from popvinyls.com. And he's blue check verified on Twitter.
One of the most fascinating points for me.
He's a good dude, a nice Atlanta fella. What's funny, and you guys will hear this because we recorded it earlier, is that see if you can hear in the background the gentle ambiance laid forth by lightning bugs and crickets, because he did the interview from the front porch, and it cracked Josh up too while we were doing the pod.
I think I said this. I like to believe that he was emulating Dagobah.
Yeah,
he was out there in the swamp.
Yeah, I mean,
like you said, like you and me go fishing in the dark and
counting the stars where the cool grass grows. Yeah,
that's enough.
Definitely what kind of the vibe that was being laid down. But
but thanks for joining us at the Holochronicles on Twitter, at Holochronicles on YouTube and Instagram, and make sure you share and like and whatever button you have to hit, and also you can find us on all the major podcast platforms. So tell your buddies.
As you have.
Friends. And you have. No,
as you have.
Thank you.
Welcome. So now that you're here, go ahead and drop us a review. That would be sweet. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear what you like about what we're doing and the little niche we're trying to carve ourselves out in this Star Wars
galaxy.
Yeah, collecting galaxy and just kind of what's going on with Disney and Star Wars. So, Josh, I have an Easter egg for you.
I can't wait.
Easter eggs.
We like to drop an Easter egg on this podcast from time to time. We don't do it every show, but when one pops up that we particularly enjoy, we'll share it with you. Now, an Easter egg, as far as we are concerned, could be something within a Star Wars movie or television show that is a nod to something outside, or it could be a television show or movie not Star Wars related, but they'll tip their cap to something Star Wars within it.
Yes.
The Easter egg for today is that John Ratzenburger is known for many things. He was Cliff Claven on Cheers. That's kind of where he first broke onto the scene in a big way. He is known for having a speaking role in every Pixar movie. Can you name three, Josh?
Toy Story 1, 2, and 3.
What was his character? Who was he?
Wasn't he the pig?
No.
Oh, wait. No, he was. No, he was a pig. Wasn't he?
I thought he was Mr. Potato Head.
Oh, he's Mr. Potato Head.
Yeah.
All the way. Sorry. It's been a while.
Okay. Do you know who he was in Cars?
Nope.
He was the semi that hauled Lightning McQueen around.
Okay. Go on. I want to get all these wrong. Keep going.
In The Incredibles. I'm just doing off the top of my head. So
not at all. No clue.
He was at the very end of the first Incredibles. He was the bad guy that came tunneling out of I can't think of his name. You're all the mole, but he would kind of look like a mole because he was the tunneler. Or
he was the mole.
Yeah, I can't think of it. But he was in it. He's totally in it, which also meant he was at the very beginning of Incredibles 2. So,
very good,
because that's where it just picked up right where it left off. Anyway, there's 3. I'm not going to go any further because I don't have to think about it.
Thank you.
But John Ratzenberger had a credited role in Empire Strikes Back.
Okay.
And he even had a name. His role had a name. He was in the Empire Strikes Back. He's right at the beginning. He was in Hoth. He was Major Bren Darlin.
Bren Darlin.
Major Bren Darlin. So you can check him out. A young version. He was 32 years old when that came out, just to give you a little perspective on how long he's been around.
Wow.
He's had some staying power. So good on you, John Ratzenberger.
Well, hashtag Bren Darlin lives.
I like to think he made it off of Hoth.
He got on that transport.
He got on the whether it was the first one or the last one. I want to say he got off on. He did. Got off Hoth.
He went on to be Mr. Potato Head in another galaxy. Good for him.
Nice. Well, all right. That's our Easter egg. Josh, there was something that it was so funny because as I've stated before, sometimes I just lay in bed and I think about Star Wars stuff. And it's not necessarily a great thing because I do have trouble sleeping sometimes. And it's because I can't shut my brain off. Maybe, I don't know, maybe you're like that too. Maybe you listening out there can relate to what I'm thinking or to what I'm talking about. But Josh, are you familiar with the idea of Super Bowl babies? Have you ever heard of Super Bowl babies? So in February, the Super Bowl happens, and then around October, there's a group of babies that are born as a result of the hometown Super Bowl winning team.
That's why Boston has an influx of population right now.
Right. Like for the last 6 Super Bowls, so there's always this little pocket of babies that were conceived on or around the time of the Super Bowl winning team winning the Super Bowl, right? It's funny, right? So I think you know where I'm going with this. But can you imagine galaxy wide when not just when the first Death Star blows up, but when the second Death Star blows up, and you kind of get that feeling that the Empire is done in a big way, at least for a while. You know, we later find out that the First Order kind of crops up a few years later, but amongst all of the celebration.
Well, hold on. I mean, even that statement alone holds its own baby, to be honest, but go on.
But can you imagine galaxy wide the pockets of Death Star babies?
Just yabbing, just an explosion.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about all the Ewok babies out there.
Tons of Ewoks. Tons. I mean, there was, you know, I don't know.
Yub nub. Rub. Oh man.
I know this is getting off the rails pretty quickly, but I mean,
Death Star babies,
that's got to be a thing, right? Nobody wants to talk about it, but there's how could there not be such thing as Death Star babies?
Well, what I want to think too is like, all right, we're trying to put this in the context of course, human species.
Sure.
But, by the way, lots of other races and species involved with the Death Star destruction, both 1 and 2.
Yes, definitely.
Can you imagine?
I'd like to think there were some little rebels that were birthed from both Death Stars blowing up.
Sure, of course.
And not just human.
Where'd Rey come from? I'm sorry. She was part of it. She's probably a Death Star baby.
Let's see. Does that timeline add up?
It's gotta. Well, it probably doesn't. It doesn't matter.
I think she's a little young, but definitely Ben.
That's what I would say. That's what I said. When you said First Order, I'm like, Ben's a Death Star baby.
Ben could very, very easily be a Death Star baby. That's
good. Hold on.
Maybe Hux too.
Can you think of all the calamari babies that were born?
Oh,
just a school of babies,
just a schools
come flushing out
calamari Death Star babies, and Wookiees and Ewoks and Twi'leks.
Well, not Wookiees. They're still a little enslaved for a while there, but yeah,
there's a few. I don't know. Poor Chewie.
That's a good concept. I think we could run this for a while. We might need to let Twitter take this for a minute.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite Death Star baby? You do the work.
Yeah.
You find the timeline. I was wrong on Rey. I think Andy called it right. The timing doesn't work. Does it not work for D1 or even D2?
No.
DS1 and DS2.
Yeah, I don't think it works for Rey, but it works for Ben.
It does.
I gotta think it works for Ben because now I take that back.
It can't work for Ben because well, maybe.
Yeah, it could. It could. And it could think it could potentially work for Hux. It could potentially work for Poe.
Yeah. Not Snoke.
No, not Snoke.
We don't know when he was born.
Finn, I tend to think that Finn is closer to Rey's age than Ben's age. I think he's a little younger.
Sure.
So I don't know maybe about Finn, but
he was raised, so we don't know how that happened.
Yeah. He was not
taken and raised.
Yeah.
Taken and raised. Yeah.
So potentially, yeah, it's
a matter of fact, the stormtroopers that make up
the first
order are just extra Death Star babies. It was actually the best ploy by the First Order / Old Empire. Is just like, let's go grab up all these Death Star babies. I mean, everyone was so excited a couple of times.
I'm so glad we're fleshing this out because this just validates why I stayed up a half hour later than I needed to last night.
Well, that's a good concept. I like it. So anyway, at Holochronicles, let us know.
Death Star babies.
Who's your favorite Death Star baby? You do the math. We're not going to do all the work for you. All right. You're listening for a reason. Yeah, here's your homework. Who's your favorite Death Star baby?
Well, I mean, we could even include like in the books too. I haven't read all the books and you've read some of them, but if there's any characters in books that kind of fit the timeline too, as being a DS1 or a DS2 Death Star baby. Remember, there's 4 years in between. So
what do they call it? Because we have like the Millennials and Generation X and all that. So they just call them the DS1s.
Gen DS.
Oh, those kids, man.
Those
kids.
Those
all
Gen
they want to
DSers.
do, all they do is spend all their days on the holocron, just vegging out.
Yeah, the Gen DSers.
Remember back in the old days when we used to just drive land speeders around and cruise down to
going to Tashi Station.
Down the main street on Coruscant. You know, we peel out. Or we'd hovercraft out in front of a group of friends.
Coruscant slide.
Those DS1
Coruscant
babies,
drift.
All they do is holocron or a hologram or what do they call it? Sorry, that's too far. Anyway, Death Star babies is a new concept.
Death Star babies. Hey,
that's a good one.
Hey,
you're
Andy,
welcome. Stay up later more often.
Hey, you're welcome.
Weirdo.
You're welcome. All right, Josh. We got the opportunity to interview Matt Norris from popvinyls.com.
Yeah, it was good.
And at popvinyls on Twitter. And he was a lot of fun. The guy's a talker and he's got
he knows a ton about pops. As a matter of fact, I think our interview is about an hour long with him. So, get ready. But it was the tip of the iceberg when it comes to pops.
Right. And I think both you and I can safely say we're pretty green when it comes to Funko. And while I am just starting to learn about it a little bit, I thought it was a perfect opportunity to bring in an expert, a Funko expert, and
really feed your obsession.
This might be the best worst thing we've done on this podcast as far as my
I feel like
wallet is concerned.
Like an older brother standing outside just shaking his head like,
yeah. Just
have the intervention lined up.
I love you, man, but good luck.
It's your own choices.
Yeah. So get ready and enjoy our interview with Matt Norris from popvinyls.com.
We would be honored if you would join us. Special guest!
It is our pleasure to have Matt Norris from popvinyls.com with us here today. Matt, thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome, guys. Thanks for having me.
So we first heard you on a podcast, Around the Galaxy podcast with Pete Fletzer, and I myself am battling what I call falling down the funk hole. And I have resisted for a long time the temptation to get into pops, but I succumbed to it about a week and a half ago, and now I've got 43. So It was a quick turnaround.
Do you remember that commercial when we were kids? And the dad's like, who got you into this? And he's got the kid's stash of drugs. And the kid goes like, I learned it from watching you, Dad.
Yeah,
that's what I say. All my friends, like everybody walks into my office and occasionally, and I kind of roll my eyes and because I know what the next thing, hey, what are those big headed things? And I'm like, oh God. So I have to explain it like 100 times. I'm like, I'm trying to talk to you about your grades, kid. Anyway, so I explain it, or other teachers or whatever come in. And then the next thing you know, they run up to me like a happy puppy going, look what I bought. And I'm like, yeah. I'm like their gateway drug, apparently. So
that's funny. So you're an educator, right?
That's the safest answer. Yes.
Yeah. And so
a little bit of everywhere, a little bit of.
So I am too.
A little bit everywhere.
How do you go about, like you said, you keep most of your pops in your office, correct? They're not at home.
Yeah. Like I have like my work office. I have some at the house, but a long time ago, my wife looked at me and she goes, you're not putting them everywhere, right? Which was a very polite way of telling me you're not putting them everywhere.
Right. It wasn't a question.
You pick up clues from your wife, you know?
Yeah.
And it does, but like mostly like right now I'm in the middle of like an office remodel. So like 90% of my stuff is packed up, but I'm just starting to pull some things out. But like I used to rotate them, but like I always have a big Star Wars collection in the office because, you know, it's what I started with. But then Funko like fell down its own funk hole and like made so many Star Wars. I'm like, I can't keep up, you know? Yeah. So, but I have those. I mean, I collect a few of them right now behind my desk at work. I have the Office pops.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I got the Lord of the Rings. And what I'm putting out for Star Wars now is I'm deciding I got like too many. So like I'm going to do something with them, but like I'm about to just put out Obi-Wan Kenobi's always been my favorite character. So I'm starting to just put out all the Obi-Wan Kenobi at first. And then I might just go all Jedi. I don't know. I haven't figured it out yet. This is the stuff I spend hours thinking about, you know.
Well, and those are good things to be thinking about. It's like when you have a collection and Josh and we both have Star Wars collections, and Josh hasn't got any Funkos yet, but he's definitely got other stuff. And I've got a bunch of stuff too, but thinking about what you're going to do with your collection, I think it's natural because it's cool to have the stuff, but it's even cooler to have it like displayed in some sort of organized way, right? Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Because like me, and I know this, like I feel different about some things. Like when I have my action figures or whatever, like I usually don't know what to do with those flames. I usually keep them in the package and just keep them around. But pops, I just go ahead and take them out of the box usually because I just don't. Now there's some I don't. If I know something's going to be like super rare or expensive, which I usually got a good idea what's it going to be, I might keep it in the box. But I usually box them up, put the boxes in totes in my basement or something. But I like to keep them loose, which is a dust nightmare sometimes. But like my wife told me, like I said, I learned a lot from her. She's smarter than me. So she always told me, she goes, cardboard is not a decorative style, Matt. And I go, so like that hurts. So like when I started slowly putting them out, I would just take them out of the packages and like I had them in my room, in our bedroom on my side of the room, and she just stares at me. And I always tell people, if your wife is cuter than you, she gets her way. So then she's like, hey, sweetie, I bought you some bookshelves. How about you put them in your office? I'm like, okay. That was a pretty nice way to approach that with you. That was probably that was probably like the first few years you're married when you're nicer. You know, like when you've been married a while, not that you're mean, but you just like cut through like the flirting and go, yeah, get that out of here. You know, that's probably what she would say now, but I know how she feels about them. So, but she collects stuff herself. She's more of a Harry Potter person. So she collects all those. Okay. Well, so then there's a little bit of a balance then. Yeah, there's a little bit of that. She's not as nutty as me about it, but you know, she keeps some. So at work, you've got students that come in and maybe some other faculty. How do you approach that with them? Because I'm sure you get questions all the time. I mean, well, I've been around long enough that I guess, you know, like the new, you know, if a student's like new or transferred in, they might ask me, but most people just kind of know it's there. So you got a reputation, you know? But like I've had some faculty come in and go, now what are these? And I explain them. They go, okay. But then you get that occasional person who walks in and you know they think you're a weirdo, and it's okay because I don't care what they think. So they don't. At least they're polite enough not to call me a weirdo. They're like, I don't get it. I'm like, well, it's not much really to get. At least to your face. They don't call it to your face. Yeah, but it's like I tell people at work, you spend a lot of time there, maybe more than you do at home.
And I just felt like I didn't want to see boring walls or dorky inspirational posters,
Yeah, that cat just hanging there, kitty.
Yeah, I just wanted to put up stuff to entertain me. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, perfect. As human beings, we want to surround ourselves with things that make us comfortable. And
yes.
And that's one reason why we collect. It's because those things give us joy and they make us comfortable in our areas. We nest. So yeah, you're not you're among friends here, Matt. No doubt about that.
I appreciate it.
So
I always like to tell. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, so on Twitter, you are at Pop Vinyls. And you're blue check verified, Matt.
Yeah, that's my question. Like Andy was saying, like, hey, come up with some questions. I'm like, number one question, how'd you get verified?
That's awesome.
Okay, this is the funny thing, and I feel like every once in a while with a company I follow, there's like a slight rivalry between me and whatever young people they hire to run the social media team. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why they get kind of prissy with me sometimes, but I was actually verified before Funko was because they were slow about it. And I laughed about it. And I made a comment about it. And so whatever snarky little 21-year-old had just graduated from college, who lives out there in Everett, Washington, didn't like me that much. They immediately got verified within like a week, and I laughed about it. But it was just because it was like the day they announced they were going to start verifying, like started expanding their verification. I just went ahead and filled out the thing that day, and I filled out everything. I put all the information on my website. I linked to it. I think I had to send in a copy of my driver's license. And then like a few weeks later, like I don't get an email about it. I just happen to be posting, and then I was going to go, there's a check mark. Sweet. But whatever. I guess the pluses of the blue check mark is sometimes other people who are blue check mark will apply to you more. So I have a healthy amount of actors or wrestlers who will like send me a message going, hey, how do I talk to Funko about getting a pop made?
Yeah. And that's some cred right there.
Usually and I know the people who like the contacts there who you get to. And we're friendly. I just kind of joke about the social media team, but everybody else, we're pretty friendly. And like I'll just send them an email. Like if I see something that I don't think they want out, I'll send them a message like, hey, something's leaking. You might want to get on this, So it's kind of like a respectful thing. I respect what they do. They don't.
Well, that's cool that you have that.
Fan, and I help them with business. Yeah.
It's cool that you have that relationship with them. So what came first, your Twitter account or your website?
The chicken or the egg? Let me remember. Well, let me tell you this. I can tell you the whole story a little bit easier.
All right.
My first deal was I was working on I had a website that was like Disney collectible stuff first.
Yeah. That
was my first website. And I focused primarily on Vinylmations, which I don't know if you know what they are, but for a while they were pretty hot with Disney. They were basically 3-inch Mickey Mouse shaped molds.
Okay.
And they would paint different designs on them. It could be theme park related, obscure things, movie characters. But then they went into this is before they had bought Star Wars. But then they got a license from Lucasfilm because of obviously Disney Hollywood Studios now they got the whole Star Wars land, but they had Star Tours for us. So they started making Star Wars animations. And I'm sitting there collecting them. And I was like, it started bringing me back to my childhood about collecting Star Wars figures because I'm like 45 now. So I remember having the original Kenner figures. I don't know where they are. I'm sure my mom sold them at a yard sale. But I remember being a little kid. And I don't know, every few years I would kind of fall out of Star Wars. Not fall out, there's just nothing new.
Yeah.
But then something would pop up and it would bring me back in to collect something because I mean, there's a reason probably why I love Star Wars so much, but I'll let a shrink figure it out. But so I started collecting it, and then they really didn't look good on the Mickey Mouse mold. Obi-Wan looked like he ate too many like ice cream bars. A little fat. Princess Leia looked a little obese. So I started looking at, and I started collecting some of the Black series.
Okay.
And then I saw the Funko stuff, and they didn't have many back then, but when I first started collecting, I think they started making the Pops in 2010. I think I started collecting in about late 2011.
And where were you getting them?
Go ahead.
Where were you getting them in 2011?
Back back then it was rare, like your mom and pop comic book shops.
Okay.
Or online. There's a couple of sites like there's this dude owns a warehouse in like New Jersey. I think it's called Gemini Collectibles, but he has a good relationship with Funko. And if they got any extra stuff, they would always send it to him. And he was a pretty cool guy, like real good shipping and stuff. And it's mostly Funko stuff. Like he doesn't like sell much of anything else. But I started like talking to him, and then like something come up new, he'd send me an email, and I started buying a couple things. I'll give you some prices later on when we want to talk about that, like some of the rare stuff. But so I started getting them. And you might have noticed, like, some Funko Pops are like don't have bobbleheads, but the Star Wars specifically do.
Yeah.
And they have a base now because of the Hasbro licensing thing. So they can't call them action figures. So to not call them action, they had to make a bobblehead. And then they used to have removable bases.
Oh, okay.
But then I guess at some point, somebody didn't like that. So now the bases are like permanently on the bottom. Only the Star Wars. The Star Wars is the only line that's got the base. But sometimes Funko had to get creative to get a license from somebody. You know, like if it was just a regular action figure, Hasbro probably would have thrown a fit and said, you can't make those.
Yeah. So at what point do you decide to go from like Disney collectibles to Funko?
Okay. It was about the time I realized that Disney was doing one of their typical let's close down something so we can make our year-end bonuses thing. And so they started to discontinue the Vinylation line. I could just tell by the production numbers they weren't making that much. And I was collecting Funko. And the only reason I really had the websites is that I got an English degree, you know, and I do stuff. And every once in a while I just wanted to write. And I didn't want to write like, I'm not Faulkner. I didn't want to write like, I'm more like a pop culture guy. But I just wanted to do something. And if I'm passionate about something, I do a better job at it, obviously.
Sure. Everybody does.
I decided, and at first, the Disney website, I wasn't making any money. I probably should have declared more losses on my taxes, but it was like a break even probably.
Yeah.
So I said, so I was talking to a couple of my friends who worked on the site with me. I said, instead of just covering Funko on both this, I said, I'm going to make a new site. I'm just going to create it. And that was the first site that was independent of Funko, like a news site. So I was the first one. So I made the website first. I remember that now.
Okay.
And then I might have had that Twitter handle as something else and switched it to Pop Vinyls afterwards. I don't recall. But like all these years of doing Disney stuff, I'd have decent traffic, but nothing that made me stand out. But then all of a sudden, I caught the wave on Funko right when it hit. And traffic went to the roof. Like at one point for like a year or two, I might have been making more money off of advertising off the website than I did as instructing at 3 different places.
Wow.
And I'm not patting my back. I was just like, why am I getting, like, who clicks Google ads? Like, I don't understand these people, but I appreciate them.
Yeah.
Like I don't get it. But it was just doing insane traffic. So I kept writing. And then I talked to Funko and they'd send me some product to review, or I talked to Hot Topic and I started getting contacts at all the big business. So I started just getting a lot of product. And again, at the time, I was kind of like the big fish in a big pond, and there was nobody really else. Now,
I was going to say, it sounds like you're the only fish in the pond.
Yeah, really. Well, I mean, they had a private group that was bigger than me, like for just the hardcore Funko collectors, and they're a tough. Like there's a documentary on Netflix, and it sums them up perfectly. I mean, they're outstanding people on the whole, but they were a little defensive or protective when new people started coming in. You kind of get, like, this is our hobby first,
right?
Fine, but after like. So I kind of got a little pushback at first because I guess I wasn't one of them.
Yeah.
But whatever. I mean, but after a while, it got like
once they saw that you were there to stay, you weren't going anywhere.
It's kind of like you get hazed for a little bit and then they accept you.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. And then there's a lot of other people. And now there's probably a gazillion Instagrams and stuff that, share stuff, which is fine. I'm a busy guy, so I still do what I do. And I got like a good reputation. It stays up in Google pretty well.
Well, you've got over 37,000 followers on Twitter, and I've been checking out your website for a little while now, and there's a ton going on in it. There's for those if you were to tell somebody who's never been on your website, what's the best thing that your website does?
Well, I think the best thing is I try to do this. I don't try to be a troll like on Twitter. I post news, and I usually frame it in a way that if I like it, you can tell. And if I don't like it, I might ask questions. Like, I don't bash something. Like, I'm not a big fan of anime.
Right.
I'm not going to trash Dragon Ball Z. I get it. I can look at the sales numbers. It makes a ton of money for Funko.
Yeah.
I might not get it, so I might not be as vibrant for it. But if I feel like they make a misstep, but I'm not going to just bash. I don't like people who just like try to nitpick. You know, like recently they came out with like the third set of the Green Hornet with Kato, and they all look the same, but they're like, one's a New York Comic-Con release, one was a San Diego, and I'm like, I don't get why they keep making this unless they just had extra molds, and they're like, we got to clear these out. Like, it didn't make sense. They're not popular.
Yeah.
You know, so I'll ask questions, but I think it's always appropriate to praise and to critique politely. You know, like, I'm not going to say this is a bunch of crap, you know, because, you know, I don't.
Right.
That's not my method of discourse. Because, you know, for every time I say that, there is a human being who's sitting in that office whose job is to make that. And, like, I try to respect that, you know.
Sure.
Now,
and
there's been times when there's been people who aren't respectful. And I usually just ignore it. You know, like if somebody wants to tag me in on like, oh, look at this crap, I don't reply back. Cause I don't know. I just find that childish.
Yeah.
You know, other people can do it, but that's just not my style.
So when there's a pop that comes out that you're not like you said, like the third run of the Green Hornet, you know, granted there is probably a small group of people that are into that, but as far as like doing 3 runs of it, maybe unnecessary. Does that make the pop then, because it's not popular, become more valuable, or just a waste?
Now it's a weird thing. Now I would usually say now, because Funko makes so much product, they've went through a growing. There's like when the Funko were just first coming out, they would do like limited edition runs at like San Diego Comic-Con of like 480, and those Star Wars pops now. One of them's going for like 1,500, and most of them are going over 500 easy. Now, over time, because of they had to adjust. Now they start making like 1,000 or so. Then they went to like 1,008. I don't know why 1,008, but that must have been the run from the factory. And at first it dropped, but then the number of fans like proportionally grew more than the ratio of 480 to fans or whatever. And so mostly now, though, to be honest, I think mostly now the only pops that like there's 2 ways they could shoot up in value. One, exclusive to some event like San Diego Comic-Con or New York Comic-Con, or a celebration. Or 2, when Funko announces they're retired.
Okay.
And they don't really send out an email, but they have a place on their site, and it'll say vaulted. If it says vaulted, that means they stop making it. And then sometimes some ridiculous pop gets vaulted early, and the price shoots up because people start buying it and trying to just, you know, flip it. But usually that settles down. I think it usually focuses if it's a good pop. I mean, there's like the first original run of Star Wars pops. They had like 10, and some of them they didn't retire. Like Darth Vader, the original Darth Vader, you could still get now, and it's like $12.
Yeah,
but they retired a few other ones, and their value shot it up real high. And I think at some point Funko realized that they kind of shot themselves in the foot by retiring some major characters early. So one time they tried to make more Star Wars pops with just the same pop but at a different box color.
Yeah, like the blue.
They were not amused with that.
Like the blue versus the black. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, the black versus the blue. Like blue was original. Black looks better, but whatever. It helped me. I missed one of the originals, like Lando, I think, and so I bought it that way. But then Funko just decided to up their game. If you look at some of the original pops, they're very plain, you know. Yeah. But nowadays they're very deep. Like with the 3D sculpting, they're pretty sharp. So Funko's did a good job of upping their game and not keeping the simplistic designs like they had originally. So, you know, it just depends. Like something rare will just shoot up in value. Yeah. You know, like other year, Golden Girls got real hype for whatever reason, you know, and so they had, and for whatever reason, Funko decided to make a Golden Girls skate deck, and boy, it sold. Weird. You know. But I think Funko also does smart things when they pick an obscure line, or when they pick a niche part. Like for example, the first time they released Star Wars Rebels pops, they didn't make but like 4. Yeah. Like Ahsoka, whatever the main 4, and Ezra and everybody. And they sold pretty decent, and so did they make more? But they'll just turn the factory on, say, give me 15,000 each of these. And I think it's just a cool way for them to like test the market. It doesn't bankrupt them, and if it sells well, they can always produce more because they don't usually put LE stickers on things unless they're from conventions. So they can, they can always I remember when Frozen was popular, they made a gazillion Olafs because they're smart. I mean, it's the business, Now I don't agree with making things more when you put an LE on it, but if it's an open run like a common, I mean, pay the bills, Funko. That's what I say. I don't blame them. But
so
that's kind of how it works. I think they got they got some of the original artists still there. Like the CEO who bought it from the previous CEO and made it big. He's a great guy. I mean, I can email him personally as CEO of a company, and he will usually email me back within a few days.
That's nice.
Now, I don't abuse that. Like, what's up, Brian? It's usually something important. Like I got to ask him like a serious question. But he's a cool guy. Some of the artists like Reese O'Brien and Ben Butch are those like incredible guys. So I've toured the place and I met with them all once or twice, and then
up in Everett,
they're like us. They're fans and but they're also artists. So they make what they love. And Reese especially loves Star Wars. So usually if something good comes out, he had his hands on it.
That's pretty cool. So Matt,
yes,
I'm a Funko novice. All right,
yes.
I almost bought a collection once. I was close. I met a guy at an AM/PM and we went through his trunk together. And then he sent me more photos and I was this close. Andy was actually involved because I was sending it back and forth. I'm like, I don't know what to do here. And he had some other stuff, but he was pushing his Funko line. So my question is, because I think they're cute. I really do. I like them. Yeah. But like, what was your initial draw? Like, I guess maybe I want your philosophy on why are people attracted to this particular toy? Since it's very cartoony. It usually, it's cute. It's almost like Legos, I guess, in that regard,
but
everything looks
functional.
Everything looks kind of the same. Like you're going to have the same body design, head design, as far as their shape and size. But what's the draw? What do you think that is, especially for adults?
I agree with you because I feel like it's this. It was kind of like it's kind of like if you're like when I was in college, I might go out with this girl once. And it wasn't nothing really special there. And then, but then a few months later, I'm like, I might ask her out again. And the next thing you know, we're dating a long time. Like, I don't know what happened. I kind of
Is that what happened?
No disrespect to a woman. And no, the girl did not have a big head. No, what I meant was, it's just like, I stumbled into a relationship in college like that. And I kind of stumbled into a relationship. Like, with a girl, I'm like, I didn't remember when we started dating. All of a sudden we were. Like 3 months in, I'm like, what happened? So I remember looking at Funko and going, these are some big-headed little things, and I put them back down. But I think it's the fact that they can make so many different licenses, and they're very aggressive about trying to stay ahead. And I mean, their little slogan is everybody has something like they love, that's fun to collect. So I think it's kind of like the Death Star being, man, they pull you in with something.
Yeah.
I think Star Wars is probably what pulled me in originally. And even though they were simple, but I kept it small. Like I remember I had a little bookshelf. You'll think this is funny. I can remember what was behind. All right. The only pops that were in my office back then were like 8 Star Wars pops that if I added up the value of them right now, it'd be about 4,000.
Wow.
Awesome. I had the holographic Darth Maul. I had a flock Chewbacca. I actually had 2 of those each. And once I sold one of each, and it paid for a Disney trip for my wife and my kids.
Nice.
So she didn't mind the pops as much then when I was like making money. And then I had a few others, and I had the Notorious B.I.G. and Tupac on my desk.
Oh yeah,
I remember those.
Nice.
Those were my original ones.
Wait. Are you more Biggie or are you more Tupac?
I'm not sure if I want to commit to that because I don't want to get shot. So like you got to pick which side of, I like them both. But if I had to like lay it down right now, which one song will make my old fat white guy start dancing, it would be Hypnotized by Biggie. So I will.
Okay.
There it is.
I have a video of my daughter. I have an 11-year-old daughter now who's on the spectrum, super smart, super funny. But the first thing, I have a video of her in my office dancing with Biggie and giving him kiss goodbye every day before she went to pre-K.
Nice.
Wow.
Like she goes, bye, Biggie.
Yeah, I mean,
so I remember that.
You basically don't have a choice now. I mean, it's Biggie, and
so
that's okay.
Yeah, got Biggie, and they're making more Biggies. Not a Star Wars tangent. They're making like 3 or 4 more. So his estate's making money apparently.
So Let me ask you this thing because I think this leads in. When we talk like what's most popular with Funko? Is it the Marvel? Is it Star Wars? Is it Harry Potter? What do you think the biggest line is?
I think you have to go more niche. I really think Star Wars is a little. They went to all right as a line. I think Star Wars as a line is about to slow down a little bit because they produced a ton of pops when Force Awakens came out.
Yeah.
And for the most part, they didn't sell well, except for the original characters. Like they went too obscure. Every daggum stormtrooper that existed in that movie, Finn, the guy who called Finn a traitor, like all of them, like everyone. And I think that it just the market got saturated because for a while you'd only get like a few new Star Wars a year. Yeah. And I think the market just kept demanding more. And so Force Awakens, and then Force Awakens I really like. But, when you start focusing on new characters, the audience gets kind of split. Like they might want 8 Lukes, but they might not want a Poe Damerons.
Yeah.
So I think it kind of got oversaturated. But to your point of what popular now, the Office Pops are flying off the shelf. They're insane. They're making so many Jim and Dwight exclusive. Is kind of funny. I keep getting them just because I think they're hilarious. And then anything Dragon Ball Z or anime is pretty popular. Like I don't know much about it, but besides the fact that I know they sell, like I wouldn't know what a Goku was if it ran up and hit me. But I have one on my desk right now to like give away to somebody from the when the company sends it to me. I'll just usually give them away. But there's niches like the Mandalorian pop though. There was a Mandalorian pop they released like a early one or a special edition at D23.
Yeah,
the Disney convention they just had, and that got a nice. It looks good. I saw it. I haven't got it yet. I'm going to get it. I just haven't got around to it. But it looks good. I could see. So for right now, like after back up a little bit, Force Awakens overflooded the market. The Last Jedi, they made more. Solo, and even though I think Solo is a pretty good movie, just got caught in a bad publicity and bad mojo from everything going around.
Agreed.
I think that kind of pushed Funko off making a lot for the next one. Now I've seen a picture; they got at least 8 coming out for the Skywalker. Yeah, and I bet there's a second run. They're not giving away the secret characters. Like if the Emperor actually is in the movie in a physical form, sure. I'm sure they'll make one of him, and they're not showing it. But like Star Wars is always a good draw if you just tap into the. Like I think I've seen the rumor now that Target will probably get it. It's like a 10-inch Boba Fett. Mm. So that's one of the gigantic ones they usually sell for like $29 at Target. But so they're going. That'll be the first Star Wars. Well, the second one they had a Ewok. Which I used to tell Beth, I was like, that's the life-size one. Yeah. It was like 10 inches, but a little short.
Didn't they have a big porg too?
Star Wars always make money for them, though. But I just think they're trying to pull back a little bit and just hit niche.
Wasn't there a big porg, a 10-inch porg?
Oh, yeah, you're right. I forget about the porgs. I got one. I never put it out. It's just kind of freaky looking in 10-inch form. You're right. 10-inch porg.
That's probably more life size than Wicked is.
Yeah, you're right. You're probably right. Now they're making a 3-foot tall Batman, so maybe we'll get a 3-foot tall Ewok one day.
Wow,
that's legit, right?
That'll be closer to life size for Wicked. So
if that head bobbles, you go down.
I'll have to look at that. I don't remember if the porg's head bobbled or not. I think it did. But I just didn't display them. They were just too big. I just didn't keep it.
So is that the direction that pops are going to go? They're going to get a little bigger, or are they just going to?
I think the 3 3/4 is the main line, no doubt.
Yeah.
But Target's the one who sells most of them. So Target's in on this. Keep making me 10-inch ones. Mm-hmm. So I mean, Funko will take your money from anybody. So I think they won't ever make as many. But they'll probably try to make some iconic characters. I mean, if they wanted to go to the wrestling line, they might make an Andre the Giant or something like that. Or if they want to go to other like, or even cooler, maybe like Princess Bride, like Andre's character there.
So, so how is this? You've got what, 4 kids? Is that right?
Yes, and ranging from 20 to 8. Yeah,
and so Have they kind of taken on their father's passion for Funkos? How has that impacted your kids?
Let's see. Hardly at all, but I'll go through them. My 20-year-old, I think, has two. She has Ron Swanson with cornrows.
Nice.
She's a big Parks and Recreation fan. She's got that in her college apartment. Then down to my 8-year-old, I have two youngest ones. Both of them are on the autism spectrum, but different ways, but like very high fun, very funny. We went running. Me and my 8-year-old son went running today. He this is his motivation, me running. Daddy, I need you to keep running so you keep existing. And I'm like, okay. That's my clue to keep running, get in better shape. All right. So
reasonable. He
loves superheroes. Like I can't get him. It's like my failure as a parent. He's my only son. I can't get him to love Star Wars. Now he'll watch the cartoons like Clone Wars and stuff, but he's more of a Marvel guy. He loves Spider-Man. He loves Captain America. Recently, for some reason, he started liking Deadpool, but I feel like I said, tell everybody I didn't show you that movie. Yeah, because like he just saw like the cartoon Deadpool, like, or kids love these watching YouTube videos of people playing with toys, which I don't get. I said, why don't you play with toys?
Yeah.
But so I think he saw some videos of Deadpool. He goes, Deadpool's a nice guy. I said, really? But anyway, he likes the Marvel. He gets them, but he doesn't like, us collectors, you'd walk by his room and cringe as they're like strewn everywhere. He treats them like toys, and that's totally fine with me. My 11-year-old daughter likes to collect things, but more like the cutesy stuff. She rides horses, so she likes animals. She loves Disney, so she has probably like 20 or 25, but it's usually not because any of my kids requested them. I just get stuff in, or I buy stuff out that they like, and they're very happy I gave it to them.
Okay.
But the only one who is remotely collectible is like my 16-year-old daughter, and I like to brag that she's the one most like me, and she's the one who's in line to be valedictorian. So I take pride in the fact that
there it is.
Take over the family business.
That's the closest I could get to brilliant, is by hanging out with her. And then she went through a phase. She's probably got like 100 in her room.
Oh boy!
Oh wow!
But she's 16. I mean, she didn't buy them. Like her good old dad getting free pops. She probably just, I want that one. I want that one. All right, take them. But so she's 16 now, so she's a soccer player. She cheerleads. She runs some clubs. So she does cross country. So she's more into driving her car everywhere she's got to go. So
is she in line to take over the family business?
Took the collector's bug totally. What'd you say? I could hear.
I said, is she in line to take over the family business?
Oh no. She's gonna go to Yale or somewhere and like probably leave me, never come visit. So no. The site I'll have to sell the site off before it gets to the kid age.
Okay.
Because they're not gonna want to do it. I love them, but like none of them are like I must have. So like I tried my best. I'll go to Hot Topic and I'm like, look more of these. He goes, I already got a Spider-Man. Let's get it. I said, but this Tony Hawk. I mean, this Tony Stark hasn't got his helmet on, Garrett. He'll go, I got one with a helmet. And I'm like, he doesn't get it yet, kids.
Yeah. So let me ask, and I don't know if Andy has this question, but it's my main question. Maybe it's the final question, but how many do you have? What's your rough estimate?
Oh, Lord.
Do you have like a spreadsheet with all of them?
Let me think. I'm sure there's over 1,000, but I don't have them all displayed. Like I said, some of them, like I am honestly actively trying to condense by selling some of the things off. But like my Star Wars collection, I'm probably selling part of it off because
don't tell Andy that
it just became. I know. I'll send you pictures. It was one of those weird things where like. You know how I guess it's like decorating. You like your curtains one day and your wife tells you, like, let's get new curtains. I'm like, okay. So like I put up at one point I had every Star Wars pop I owned out on display. And then they just kept making more and more. Then I thought it just looks like I have everything. So I wanted to focus, like I said. So I have this Obi-Wan collection that I'm going to finish putting out hopefully this week or next. I got as many Black Series figures as I got of them. I bought this Lego of like Obi-Wan from Clone Wars wearing like the clone trooper costumes. I'm going to put that together and put it there.
Cool.
So I'm trying to like now moving toward my Star Wars, like blending collections. You get what I'm saying? So
yeah.
And so there's like Obi, and then I think I'm going to have all the bounty hunters on one, like have Jango and Boba Fett and Bosk and IG-88. And I have like my, bounty hunters out. Cause I just think they're cool. I do have a bunch of the stormtroopers and I got a whole tote of like Force Awakens. I just don't need, and then another tote of The Last Jedi I just never put out. And then they started making all the big ships. Like, for example, if you go to Amazon right now and do a search for Han Solo and the Millennium Falcon, it's the biggest pop they've made yet that's supposed to be regular size. So it looks like Han's coming out of the roof of the Millennium Falcon like he's driving it, flying it.
Yeah.
And it's like $65. But if you look at the dimensions, it's huge. Like, I can't decide I'm not going to get it, right? But they started making all the ships, like Han and the Millennium Falcon. They've made Darth in a little miniature, a little X-Wing. They just started taking up too much space. So I kind of like decided I wasn't going to collect the vehicles.
Yeah.
So, but some people I've seen some people say they're collecting just the vehicles now because they think they're cool.
Yeah.
And that's fine. So, which again goes back to Funko. You like something.
Yeah.
That's the way they look for it. But you know, like if you're a completist, God help you, because like they're going off. Like Marvel's crazy, Star Wars line's crazy. So if you're a completist, I'm sure it's a hard thing to deal with, and I'm sure every hobby's got people who think they need everything.
Yeah,
I just accepted that I couldn't get everything, and I just get what makes me happy.
Well, that was kind of my approach too. I decided that I wasn't going to get Funkos because I can't get everything, and and that's why I kind of was in and out of getting Black Series figures because I loved them, but I knew I wasn't going to get all of them. So, but then one day, I don't know what it was. I just all of a sudden, this guy online had a bunch that he was selling, and they were reasonably priced, and there was a bunch of them that I really liked, and so I got them. And like I said, I went from 0 to 43 in 7 days. So
that's usually a sign of a problem.
Yeah, that's what I said.
But
I know. I also know that I'm talking to the wrong person if I do have a problem too.
This is like the czar.
Look, you're definitely talking to the guy who can't judge you, so don't worry about that. So, but like I told people, I also think for whatever reason they're approachable, and the way the box is designed is meant that you could open it up, take it out, put it back in. You know, and I know other companies do that, but I grew up at the age where you just. Like, I wish I could go back in time and just see me shredding Kenner packaging to get to all the pops, I'm going to get to all the figures. So I just think they were kind of they look harmless. Like, you can't hurt them. I don't know about you guys, but I love the Black Series, but good God, they come with so many little accessories. The whole time I think about it, I'm never going to open this because I'm going to lose all these little things. So.
I went Elite Series for Black, and I have a pretty large Black Series collection. I bought one off of Andy. He was unloading, and then I went the Elite Series because I went to Disneyland and bought a few there. And I decided, you know what, I'm pulling my Elites out because they're made of metal. Phasma weighs 5 pounds. She's fantastic. And she's 6 inches tall, but she's 5 pounds. So there's that's why I like when you were first describing your collection that you took them out of the box, and that's that's kind of one of our collector pivot points is look, there's some collectors that buy 2 or 3, one to sell, one to keep, one to put on display. And then there's some collectors that just buy one and they pull it, they either keep it, in the box or they pull it out. And it doesn't really matter. I keep boxes. What I do is I keep boxes. So I'll pull them out and I'll just store the box. So how do you feel about that?
Well, when it comes to Funkos, I'm sure they do, but I just don't know well enough. If you have a Funko that has some value to it, does it matter if it's been in or out of the box?
There's no sticker on the boxes, so you can just open the flap, slide it out, put it on display, put it back in. And unless you got some high maintenance OCD collector, which you can usually tell those apart. I've had guys ask me ridiculous amounts of questions for 8 cents of cardboard.
Yeah. And
I go, pal, I'm not trying to be mean to you, but if it means that much to you, I think you need to buy it in person.
Right.
I said,
right.
Light indentation in the flap of the box, it ain't gonna bother me to buy it. Now, I don't want my box crushed. I would like it to look presentable, especially for the front, not caved in, but some people are, and that's fine. I don't have a problem if that's what they want to do. But Funko, I think you can open it up and put it out, and you can put it right back. I've done it 100 times. How it pops out, showed the people the pictures of them out of the box, and then put it back in the box and took pictures of all sides. Saying, "Hey, does it look okay?" They're like, "Oh, that looks great, thanks." So
you know what? I do think that's music to my ears because
Funko collectors are not as intense about that as some of the other collectors.
Yeah,
but it bleeds over.
Well, that makes me happy because I think I'm going to take all mine out.
Yeah, it's good.
I mean,
that's a good collector tip right there.
Let them breathe. I mean, just put them out. I just think they're like nice, like have a few on your desk. Like the only Marvel, for example, that I have in my office that I need to is that they came out with a few what they call patina. It kind of looks like it's an oxidized statue.
Yeah,
is the best way I would describe it. Well, they just came out with one of Stan Lee. And then they made one of the iconic characters from like the Avengers, was Wolverine, Iron Man, Captain America, and one more. But they just look like metalized statues. So I took those out of the boxes. I'm like, why would I get those if I didn't want to look at them?
Right.
And sometimes you get a pop that's got a really cool design on the back that you never know. So, I mean, I just like the way pops are designed to hold them out. But like I've sold them. I do think part of the draw to any hobby is resale value. So like they make plastic cases for the box. So usually I buy them. I put the pops in a case and put them in a box. And if I decide to sell them, I'll go get it. The box is usually in almost mint condition. Yeah. It's mint as, like I tell people all the time, as 3-cent cardboard could be. I said, I let people make the decision if they want to buy it. But the fact that you can turn around and sell something like I had that holographic Darth Maul that I had 2 at one point. And I think when I sold them both, I sold them for like $500 each.
Wow.
But now they're going for like $2,250. That hurts a little bit. You're like, ouch. I mean, there's only 480 of them made. So at one point I had 2 out of 480. So I remember that. There's a Flock Chewbacca, and I sold it probably for like 200, and I think it goes for like 1,000 now, which is fine. I mean, it's been 5-6 years since I bought it.
Well, at the time, you were making good on your investment.
At the time, I bought it for $8.99. And so I'd still make good profit. So.
Yeah, you can't be bummed about that.
And like I always tell people, I collect things because I love them, but to me, it's like buying an extra house. I'm like, it makes it feel better that that if something comes up, you can unload it.
Yeah,
and not only get your money back, maybe make a couple bucks back. So sure. I don't mind it. Like I don't go into it to like. I've never been one to like let me buy 20 of these so I can like sell them all. And if somebody wants to do it, that's fine. I just don't care that much. I usually don't buy more than 2 of anything. Usually one to keep, one to see how the market will be.
Sure. And
I might sell it later. But that's it, But the Star Wars has always held its ground of the original ones. Like another one, the 2, I would say the 3 pops that are worth the most that I've never owned. And that's I probably have only not owned 10.
Yeah.
And I just chose not to own the last 7. They had made a Han and Luke wearing the stormtrooper gear, but without the helmets.
Yeah.
And they were at the Emerald City Comic Con, so kind of up your way.
Yeah.
And they were an exclusive there. And I think they go for like $400 each. And like nowadays I could just buy a stormtrooper and pop a Luke and Han head on them if I wanted them that bad, but I don't want them that bad. And then the Shadow Trooper was a San Diego Comic Con. And I think it's like, I don't know, between $500 and $750.
Jeez, heapers.
And it's all these, and there was a Biggs Dark Lighter like 500, and then there was there's several other Star Wars exclusives like Princess Leia and her bounty hunter gear from Return of the Jedi with her helmet off. I had that one and sold it for like 500, and it was like literally within 1 year of buying it. And I think it's still about that value, so I did hit it at the top of the market. But it's just that does make your spouse feel a little bit at ease about your addiction problem when she knows that you will.
I'm making money off my drugs. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, that's the way I look at it. I'd rather I love pops, but I don't like spending money. So if my wife goes, "Hey, let's go to Disney," I'm like, "Hold on, let me go see what I can sell for spending money." And that's usually what I do.
That's perfect. That's a great like. I don't know. That's one of the fun things about collecting. Like you said, it's nice knowing that if you need to unload a couple things, you can at least make your money back, if not make a couple bucks on top of it.
Yeah. I mean, if your vice is something like smoking or just eating, you can't resell, like you just screwed out of the money. So I tell people all the time, like, I like to have one of it. Like Obi-Wan's my favorite character, and I don't really sell those, but I keep all them. And then Luke, but like after a while, I had like a ton of Lukes. I finally decided I wanted the original Luke from A New Hope. I kept the Luke with his hand cut off from Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
and I have like the Jedi Luke wearing the cloak. I got rid of any of the other ones. I didn't need the other. I said, I love Luke. Yeah. He was a character I played when I was a kid on the playground. Yeah. I said, but I got enough Luke, you know? So so nowadays I don't really get hung up on keeping the oldest pops, because the oldest pops have the most simplistic designs. I look at the best design. If I decide to streamline and like, all right, I got too many, I need to sell these, I keep the best designs and get rid of the older ones because they'll sell better.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I guess I got one more question for you here. And again, thank you for joining us here. We really appreciate you. I know we got a little bit of a time difference here, but
oh, no problem.
Last collector question for you. If it weren't Funkos, what would you be into?
Yeah, what would you be the website
dabble,
for?
But then I decide to I just started. I don't know, the re-release of the Black Series and the new boxes has kind of intrigued me to get more Star Wars stuff. But like nowadays, I'm kind of I'm trying not to go buy from one hobby. I like my Obi-Wan collection. I'm trying to do niche things. Like I'm kind of a Disney Parks junkie, or what was. So like I love the Country Bears show there. I don't know why. It's my favorite show as a kid. Yeah. So I will buy anything Country Bears. Like I got a whole collection from 1979 of like these little stuffed figures of them. And then I got a glass, and then I got a sign for like Big Al. But then you go into like wrestling. I have a few friends who are pro wrestlers. So I'll start collecting some of the classic wrestler characters from like WWE or the old wrestling. Just some of them.
The thumb wrestlers?
San Diego Cop. I got the Macho Man in his Slim Jim gear from San Diego Comic Con. So that just looked awesome. But then I just try to like group things in that way. Like, I'll be honest, y'all might be the same way. Sometimes I'm fascinated at buying my family things, even though, I don't mind collecting, but I like buying it. Like my wife collects teapots for whatever reason. So we'll go to Epcot at Disney, or I'll see something from England online because she's really big. And she's teacher of the year last year. She's a brilliant history teacher, grad school, master's degree, all that stuff. Like smartest person I know. So I try to get her stuff. Like she loves carrots. So I bought her all the George Washington and the Ben Franklin and the Pops when they came out for her classroom, because I know she's my little history nerd. So
that's cool.
I don't know. Back to your question. I like nothing has a hold on me as like I'm exclusive to collecting it like Funko does at the moment. But nowadays I'm just jumping around. Like I like I'm having like a Lord of the Rings flashback. I'm adding the Black Series of Star Wars. I'm adding some classic Disney stuff. I'm trying to recollect the old Star Wars glasses. Like the ones like Burger King would sell.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I had all of them when I was younger, but then like I think the last one I had was accidentally broken and I moved. Like I had the Empire Strikes Back, so I kind of feel the need. I want to like buy a cabinet and like start trying to get some of those glasses, just because a little bit different than posing action figures. Just try to mix it up a little bit.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, again, thanks Matt for joining us. If we could plug your website, popvinyls.com, for any.
If you want to know anything at the site, I do mostly news. I try hire staff. It really would help now. But nowadays it's just me and like one other guy. But life gets busy. But I try to keep I have a link where every series that they have out, so you can kind of just if you're a Walking Dead fan, if you're a Disney fan, if you're a Star Wars fan, even it's obscure. Like if you're just a Clone Wars fan, there's plenty. So I try to let people know what's news coming out and stuff, but I just do it because I like it, and it probably would still do it if like only me and 3 other guys are reading it, but it's pretty cool. And then hopefully I'm always excited for a new thing to come out, because I'd like to start something else, but I have to feel it. Like I can't just try to make a site for money.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't fake it. Like I'm not that type of person. If I didn't like it, I couldn't fake it. So
well, I appreciate
find something.
I appreciate the checklists on it, because that's more of an organizational thing, and that's something that I need. Like I'm going to print off a couple of checklists just so I know, because I want to get the bounty hunters.
Yeah, some people like it that way. I know a lot of people prefer like they're like I don't have enough tech skills to make me a app. I wish I did. And I don't have enough time. But like I know there's some like Funko's apps pretty cool for organization. So I was making the checklist before they even had their apps. So I just keep doing it because some people still like it.
Yeah.
But whatever floats people's boat. Like I'm in no competition with anybody. If I could help somebody find something, it's a good feeling. So that's the way I look at it.
All right. Well, thanks. Thanks again. It's popvinyls.com if you're looking for the website, and he's at popvinyls on Twitter.
Verified.
Do you have an
Instagram, baby?
Do you have an Instagram?
Usually, I'm too old for Instagram. I have one, but then I'll try to get into it. Then I'd rather talk. Just posting pictures drives me nuts. I just sound like an old man when I say this, but them kids and their Instagrams. I just need to hire somebody to run the page for me on Instagram. That's what I need to do.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Matt. I'd like to thank you personally for driving Andy into a new addiction. I'm going to be able to watch his downward
I'll start
spiral.
I'll start sending you guys pictures of the pops I'm going to sell. Maybe I'll just try to ease everybody into it by sending free pops over. Just to
first one's free.
Oh, geez, you're becoming my favorite and my worst friend all of a sudden. So.
Yeah, on the label I'll just put "you're enabler," and that's all I'll put.
All right. Well, thanks again, Matt. I appreciate the time, and go Georgia Bulldogs. Right. Woo.
Yes, I'm 40. I'm too old for bad seasons. I need a championship before I die, because the last time I won one, I was 6. So I remember it vaguely. So I need another one.
All right. Well, thanks again, Matt. Thanks for the conversation.
Hey, thank you guys. I appreciate it. Thank you guys.
May Slims.
This party's over.
What you say, Mace?
Take a seat, young Scott.
Oh, snap.
For your own good, stay out of this thing.
Oh, yeah, Mace. Mace talking big.
If what you told me is true, you will have gained my trust.